few minutes for more people to join. Takes a little bit for the computers to catch up. Just going to wait a few more minutes for some more folks to log in. We have 339 folks joining us today. All right, this is our webinar series, Composting in the Time of COVID-19. Today is part 4, the re-emergence of the Victory Garden, selling compost to customers sheltering in place. The U.S. Composting Council is a trade and professional association advancing compost manufacturing, compost utilization, and organics recycling to benefit our members, society, and the environment. Our vision is that we believe compost manufacturing and compost utilization are central to creating healthy soils, clean air and water, a stable climate, and a sustainable society. Compost, it's nature's way to grow. So I am Hillary Nichols. I am the Market Development Coordinator for the U.S. Composting Council. I also manage the STA Certified Compost Program. My background is as a garden manager for a small nonprofit that teaches kids to grow and cook food, and also as a senior horticulturist at the Atlanta Botanical Garden. I'm excited about how much turnout we have today. We have 339 folks coming. So just a few housekeeping items. Everyone is on mute right now. So use your audio settings to adjust the sound of our voices, or switch to a phone call to hear us a little bit better. You can use the Q&A box in the bottom of your screen to ask any questions that you have for us. Carrie Oceans is going to be helping to facilitate looking through those questions and asking the questions after each speaker has time to talk about what they're going to talk about in that section. And at the end of the webinar, if any questions still haven't been answered, we'll talk about them at that point. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand at our website, www.compostingcouncil.org. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen, the tab Research Educate is where it is underneath COVID-19 resources. So once you go down to that tab, you can visit the recordings from the other webinars in our series, Composting in the Time of COVID-19. We had one on reviewing safe procedures for composting feedstocks that might have possible coronavirus contamination. We had another one about composting as an essential service, the experiences and recommendations from panelists from around the country. And we just had one last week on navigating COVID-19 for small-scale food scrap collectors, both drop-off and curbside. We have 190 folks that have joined us so far out of the 339 that are coming. So excited. We want to make sure that all of you are aware of the tools that we have made available. We have some Victory Garden marketing tools on our website, and those are only available for USCC members. So today in our webinar series, we're going to talk about the re-emergence of the Victory Garden, selling compost to customers that are sheltering in place. And we're privileged to have Emma Yates from We Care Denali, Clinton Sander from A1 Organics, and Shota Austin from Tank's Green Stuff. We also want to give a shout out to those folks who have supported us in creating this series. We have the Composting Council Research and Education Foundation, the Composting Council of Vermont, and the Institute for Self-Reliance. So let's start with Emma Yates from We Care Denali.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Emma Yates. I'm happy to be speaking with you guys this afternoon. So We Care Denali's composting portion of the company started back in the 1990s as more of an organics management and logistical company. We now operate over 15 facilities across the United States, from Arizona, Connecticut, Florida, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, and New York. We have about 4 salespeople across quite a few facilities, and over 100 operations employees at those facilities. And between all those facilities, we're manufacturing and selling about 700,000 cubic yards of compost every year. Our sales team's main marketing and sales efforts are towards topsoil blenders, large-scale landscape contractors, site work contractors, and landscape architects. So most of our sales are done in bulk. We do have some retail locations where there's a little smaller scale with some mulch and soils too. We also do large scale soil blending with partners that take our compost and make that, and we sell that as well. The main methods we do to make these sales are through cold calling, website traffic, where we're getting the customers coming directly into our websites, and networking at trade shows and events.
Thank you, Emma. I am really excited that you're joining us today. And we also have Clinton Sander joining us from A1 Organics.
Hello, everybody. Great to be a part of this call, and thank you to everybody that's on this call. And yeah, so A1 Organics is stationed in Colorado. We have been in other states, but we came back to just Colorado, where we're really great at. And we have 4 facilities we operate in Colorado, and we've been there since 1974. We have a pretty large capacity. We recycle about 425,000 tons a year, which translates into about 325,000 cubic yards of either mulch or compost back into the marketplace. We do have about 45 to 50 full-time employees, and there's about 8 to 10 of us that are at the main headquarters in Eaton, Colorado, which includes sales and all those necessary individuals. We market to a vast amount of business-to-business relationships and business-to-customer. So we're working with a lot of Colorado cities, a lot of landscape contractors, retail landscape yards, and then golf courses for professional turf managers, and then all the way down to the retail sites. We have 3 retail yards, 2 in the Denver metro area and 1 in the northern Colorado area, where we sell product out to residential or commercial landscapers, small to large. But we are primarily a wholesale seller. We do sell mainly in bulk products. We do some smaller bag one-off projects where we're working with cities. A lot of you might be aware of the Denver partnership, where we're bringing compost back to the Denver residents who recycle from the curbside recycling program. And yeah, a lot of our main marketing methods is, again, a lot like Emma, through calling our customers, cold calling, through branding on all digital platforms, website traffic, and then of course referrals.
Excellent. Thank you, Clinton. And we're also joined with Shota Austin from Tank's Green Stuff.
Hi, I'm Shota Austin from Tank's Green Stuff here in Tucson, Arizona. We're a family-owned business, and we started composting in 2006 to divert landscape trimmings from our local landfills. We have four facilities in southern Arizona and 48 full-time employees, producing about 50,000 cubic yards of finished compost, which we sell to homeowners, local nurseries, Ace Hardwares, landscape companies, golf courses, and large bulk commercial accounts as well. We've got 2 of our own retail locations as well as 90 other local retailers across the state of Arizona. And we sell 25 different bulk products and 20 different bag products. We use conferences, events, website traffic, social media, a lot of events, podcasts, and those sort of things right now to market our product. But yeah, that's us here in Tucson.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Shota.
Not a problem.
So in today's webinar, we're going to go through some of the survey results from answers from folks like you about how you've been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. As we go through, we're going to pose a question to each one of the speakers, and they're going to give their experiences about each topic. So the survey that we sent out, we got a variety of people responding. We got SCA participants, we got people not in the program, we got community composters, and about half were USCC members. One of the questions that we asked is whether or not in their area of the country, your operation is considered an essential service. Fortunately, for most compost manufacturers, it's work as usual. Unfortunately, some folks have had to pause their operation, and other folks have either been allowed to do processing or sales, but not both. And very few people are very fortunate not to have any virus or very much affecting them. So let's go through our speakers and find out what restrictions they've been experiencing being considered an essential service. Let's start with Emma.
Yeah, so from a purely sales and marketing standpoint, the biggest restriction has been the ability to interact with the customers that we're used to meeting with, going to site visits, meeting with landscape architects, going to those in-person meetings. That's really the biggest restriction that we're experiencing as a sales team right now. Visiting construction sites is a great way to meet your customers on site and, you know, ensure a project is going well, make sure they're happy with everything. But luckily our sales team is very capable of working remotely, and salespeople are typically set up to work while they're traveling and on the road anyways. So lucky for us there, we have been able to carry out most of our sales as usual in that regard. And we don't have many delivery restrictions. So as far as setting up our deliveries, that's pretty much business as usual.
Wonderful. I'm glad there's a silver lining. All right, Clinton, tell us about your experiences.
Yeah, I mean, luckily as well, a lot of us, the essential team can work remotely. So for me, for example, the marketing manager, I can do a lot of what I need to do from home, but we have reduced our headquarters staff down to 30%. So just the essential accounts receivable, accounts payable, and our logistics manager are in the office, and then the sales team is outside of the office. But still, you know, we can communicate via telephone. Again, we can't visit the sites. We haven't been able to go to the landscape yards, but that kind of spawned a new pilot program for us. So we did a virtual training on one of our new compost that we just landed in a few landscape yards. So we got all the managers on board and then got on just like we're doing today and trained them up on this new product, and it's doing really well. And that was a great opportunity to try out that platform that we hadn't tried before. So, and then quickly we touched on there about site meetings held digitally. And then we've actually been using our security cameras at each site as a way to help problem solve the staff that's on site if there's something going on. And that's been great, but no delivery restrictions. Actually, that's been a positive. We've seen a big uptick in deliveries.
Fantastic. All right. And Shota, tell us about your experiences.
Well, Our experiences here are just about the same as everybody. We're considered an essential business, so we're up and running. We've been struggling to maintain some of the products we need in stock to keep our operations going. But aside from that, we're not visiting local retailers or new customers, and we're doing customer service over the phone or via Skype, especially if you have a homeowner or new gardener in the area who's having problems with their mix. It's been interesting to visit with them over Skype, talking about soil moisture and hydration techniques and things like that. So that's been a little bit new, but also kind of a blessing to be able to try that out during this quarantine. But aside from that, no delivery restrictions and no outside visits, essentially. So.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing those experiences. So I know that you've had a lot of restrictions. We just talked about some of them. And what would you say the biggest sales and marketing challenges have been? Emma, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I mentioned obviously the cold calls and in-person visits are important. Another thing that hasn't been touched on yet is the actual projects themselves that are being delayed. Since we do work with a lot of large-scale topsoil blenders who are supplying directly to site work or large-scale landscape contractors, or working directly with those contractors, we're seeing some of those contracts that have been delayed, either because they are not essential or just because there's a funnel of delays down the line that are delaying an actual project start. For example, the labs where I get my soil testing done are really backed up because they've had to cut down on their staff. Engineers are working from home. They're not in their office with the team to fulfill those approvals. And I know a lot of permitting issues are coming up and those are really slow. So projects that we were relying on for larger inventory and revenue to start in March and April have been pushed back. So that's definitely a challenge from a sales standpoint.
That does sound really hard. Clinton, tell us about your experiences.
Well, the first one I talk about there is, communicating that we are an essential business with, without encouraging unnecessary travel. So we'll talk about this a little bit more through these slides, but, letting everybody know, yeah, hey, we're open, we're available, products ready to go, we can ship everything to you. But at the same time, we're trying to encourage people not to also come to the sites. And if you do come to the sites, maybe call ahead, and then that way we can have it ready for you, and then you can just show up with the least amount of physical interaction as possible. Then paperwork exchange has been a little bit challenging, but we've figured out systems for that. And then of course, communication, off-site or off-staff, work from home staff, communicating back and forth. That's new. That could be a little bit new, and it has been new. So minimizing the amount of emails and maybe just picking up the phone and making a quick phone call is a lot easier than emailing. But to speak to also what Emma was saying with the larger commercial clients and commercial projects, we haven't seen a slowdown yet, but we are watching that really, really closely to see what we can expect maybe 2 or 3 months from now.
Sure, yeah, it's good to plan. Tell us a little bit more about the paperwork exchange that you've put into place.
Sure. We've actually created each site is different, obviously. So one site, for example, like our Eaton location, we have 2 doors at the front of the building. And so we've unlocked the first door, but the second door is locked. And we've set up a station there where the delivery commercial drivers can show up, call in, put in the order, they go get it filled. We do the paperwork, we put it into the front area, and then they can come back and pick up their paperwork, and then they can leave. So it's kind of like a transition area for paperwork. Simple, worked really well, and it's been great.
Great, thanks for sharing. Shota, please tell us about your experiences with sales and marketing challenges.
So at the moment in Tucson, it's late spring, and so a lot of our big spring customers like golf courses, a lot of lawn and turf companies, we've already fulfilled a lot of those orders earlier in the year. And at the moment, we're just really dealing with a huge influx of home gardeners. A lot lot of people going towards a victory garden, trying to grow their own food at home. So we've had a supply chain issue with one of our product suppliers being shut down due to several cases of coronavirus at their facility. And so the decomposed pine we use in our raised garden blend mix is not available to us at the moment. So we've had to make a lot of changes to that blend to make it available to customers. And we're continuously selling out of that soil just due to kind of the victory garden craze. And so that's been a big challenge, is just maintaining that supply chain for each one of those inputs, aside from our compost, into our products, as well as making sure we can get parts for equipment from overseas or even across the United States has also been a challenge. So maintaining our equipment, keeping that going during this really busy and hectic time has been a challenge. And then making sure that our staff is healthy and safe, and that we have enough team members that can safely come to work to fulfill all these orders has been another challenge. We've had several drivers whose spouses or family members have fallen ill. Thankfully, no one to coronavirus just yet, but taking precautions and taking 2 weeks of leave from work. And so we'll be short a driver here, short a driver there, and an operator here. And so we just have to do a lot of shifting and adjusting to make sure that we meet the demands of our customers and our community here in Tucson. And then a large portion of our retail sales and for our retail partners here in Arizona is the spring events, where we go out and talk to folks about going out and buying our products from Ace Hardwares and nurseries, whether it be in Phoenix or Northern Arizona. And since all of those events have been canceled, it's really hard to get out to do that outreach just via social media. So we've switched a lot of our efforts in producing social media advertisements to try to drive sales to our retail partners across the state. And that's about it for me.
Great. Yeah, the pandemic has required a lot of flexibility for all of us.
Hillary, I've got a question here.
Sure.
And this would really be on, I think both Clinton and Shota would this question goes to both of you, because it's asking about virtual training. And Clinton, you mentioned training your staff. Shota, you talked about virtual training of homeowners for Skype. And so the question is, how do you handle questions about the intangible, the smells, the feel, those kind of questions when you're only using a video connection?
This is Clinton. That's a really great question. I guess we just do our best on explaining the product with the vocabulary we have. I designed a lot of great new marketing materials for one of our products, the Command product, and I presented those in the virtual presentation with the landscape managers for these yards, and and read them testimonials, and also gave them before and after photos of application of the product. So traditional sales tools, but you're right, you don't get to get that physical touch just yet. But fortunately, the landscape yards that I'm training right now already have the product at the site. So they've already experienced it a little bit, so that helps. I hope that answers the question.
In our case, it's generally a lot of the customer service with homeowners are also with customers that already have our product. And so using a lot of descriptive terms, talking about soil consistency and moisture, also having samples available on my end to kind of show the customer about the hydration and how it should feel. So it's really just turned into a lot of nitty-gritty, very descriptive soil talk. And then in other cases where we're sending out small Ziploc bags of samples to customers who are interested in purchasing large volumes of compost or raised bed garden soils.
Thank you.
Any more questions, Gary?
Not right now.
All right, great, thank you. So in our survey, we asked how does everyone sell their compost? Most people sell it bulk, many sell it by delivery, and fewer bagged or distributed to retailers. And we asked, what new sanitation practices have you put into place? By far, social distancing for staff members and employees washing hands between managing equipment has been big, and there have been a lot of other methods that have been used. And let's get into what our panelists have been using. So for sales and setting up a sales area using COVID-19 safety practices, Emma, what have you been doing?
So I know my sales team that's more in a retail-based situation, they've had to put in a lot more stricter measures just because the volumes of customers coming in every day at a smaller scale is a lot higher, and that risk of contact is a lot higher when you have smaller trucks in and out all day. So they've tried to encourage payment over the phone, and they are requiring online and over the phone orders to minimize the contact that the people at that location will be having with the customers. And at our commercial and larger scale facilities where we don't have smaller scale retail customers coming in, we're typically dealing with large triaxles and tractor trailers, a few to 10 to 15 of those a day coming in, depending on the facility. And aside from COVID-19, we typically have minimal contact with those customers. They come in, they are loaded up by our operations team, and it's usually one person in a loader, and there's an exchange of a ticket there, and then those customers are invoiced. So we're already doing digital invoicing that way. So there we didn't have to adjust much other than just ensuring that contact between the truck driver and our operations team is very minimal on that end of things.
Great, thank you. And Clinton, tell us about your experiences.
Sure. Well, each site is different, and but yeah, I mean, similar to Emma, I mean, each site has cleaning practices put into place, sanitation practices put into place, social distancing as well. With employees and staff are not having lunches together anymore. They're staggering their lunches. All load operators are staying with the same loader every day. And actually, they are super clean right now, which has been a win. And yeah, I mean, like when people, no one's entering the buildings at any site, and either they're working through a window or they're working, like I said earlier, through an area that has been kind of quarantined off. And then, of course, we encourage all communication through phones. We're protecting our gate attendants with masks and gloves, and no loader operator will be in contact directly with the customer. Limiting cash transactions been a big push, trying to go credit card on everything. It's been good. I mean, I think our yards naturally work for this when it comes to, even when people are tipping, when someone's bringing a load in, they naturally kind of keep distance from each car or each truck, and we do that. And we keep people in their cars when they line up at the gate, and then we just go one by one. So it's been working actually really well.
Fantastic, glad to hear that. Shota, tell us about how you've been setting up a sales area.
So as far as our two facilities go, just like a lot of other facilities, we also accept landscape trimmings and recyclables. So we're already working through a window, so minimizing the customers being in proximity with each other, waiting in line or at the scale house window, and then putting an emphasis on card, so we can sanitize cards and payment methods coming through the window. We've also got UV wands to sanitize cash, as well as providing our scale house team and our yard operators with masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, and cleaning solutions to make sure that their equipment and themselves are being protected from any potential contact. And then we're also moving to digital alternatives. So where we can with account customers, over the phone sales, deliveries, our drivers are no longer giving out paperwork or collecting signatures, and all this is done digitally. And so we've basically done away with customer signatures in all cases except for over the phone, or sorry, over email or fax. And then just making sure that if a customer calls to place an order, for them to come pick it up, we try to make it easier for them to get loaded up. And if they're purchasing bag products like compost or potty mix, then we encourage them or inform them of a local retailer they might already be going to pick up plants or seeds or shovels or whatever else they might need. So instead of coming to our facility as well as an Ace Hardware for seeds and a shovel, they can go to an Ace Hardware near them for all the products to avoid one more stop in their trip out to get their cart home.
Great, thank you. And a question to all of you. Have you had any trouble going to paperless with people who feel the need for in-person signatures?
We haven't gotten a whole lot of pushback. We've got one large customer that would like us to add more information to our paperwork. So now we're adding truck numbers and getting the driver name so we can write that down on the tickets and then emailing that to their main office instead of giving the drivers the tickets to sign, but signatures from the driver themselves.
Thank you, Shoda.
And Hillary, I've got one.
Yes.
Hi everyone, this is Kerry Oceans, also with the Composting Council. Someone asked the question that if your facility, to the panelists, if your facilities handle food waste or municipal waste, how do you handle questions from clients about passing COVID-19 in compost? And let me start this off, and then others can add. The key fact to remember is that the virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is the causative agent of COVID-19, really does not survive long in the environment. It's a virus that's adapted to live and replicate in humans, first in animals and then in humans. And even on food, on porous surfaces, it will not last more than 24 hours. In some cases on surfaces like plastic or steel, it can last longer, but and that's at normal room temperatures. At composting temperatures, it's destroyed within minutes. So there's really no concern about passing the virus along in the compost. And all the procedures you've been hearing about are really to prevent the COVID being passed in person-to-person contact. So that's not, we have the science on our side. The similar question came up yesterday on a webinar I was on with wastewater treatment facilities and asking, could COVID be passed along through wastewater? And the answer is still no. It does not last long in that environment. Do any of the panelists would like to add anything to that? You're welcome to.
Yeah, I would just say I actually have not surprisingly had that question asked at all. I've had more questions relating to the actual interaction person to person versus concern about the materials that we are providing. I think most people are understanding at this point with the science that's out there if they are using the compost. So most people have been pretty comfortable continuing if they're able to purchase the compost.
And I would follow up with that too. I would agree exactly with Emma. We haven't had any of those concerns or any of that communication coming to us directly at A1. And again, once the material, like Carrie says, once the material actually arrives at our facility, it's been days and days since it has been in contact with a customer, and we're getting such large loads that we're pushing this material around with loaders and operators. It's not actually hands-on, so there's been no concern there.
Thank you, Clinton.
Great. Linda Norris-Walt, part of our team here at the Composting Council that's putting on these webinars. Linda, you have something to add? No? Okay. She'd raised her hand, so. All right, continue on, Hillary. That's it for now.
All right, thank you. So it's important to have great sanitation practices, but the next step is making sure that it's well communicated to your customers. When we surveyed everyone, we found that most people were communicating it in person verbally. A few people with email and social media, and just a few by phone and the website and printed materials. All right, so we want to find out from our panelists, how do you communicate your sanitation practices to your customers? Let's start with Emma.
So for our more retail-based operations, the communication has been more digitally because it does need to get out to a higher volume of customers. So social media, emails, and of course, just direct contact when those customers are actually placing the order has been pretty simple to do. From a larger scale, for my customers that are consistently coming into the bulk facilities, I've kind of used it as a touch point to check in with customers, let them know that we are still fully operational, ask how we can serve them, and just let them know if any practices have changed, what those are, and how they can still come in if they do need materials.
Wonderful. Clinton, tell us about your practices.
Yeah, I mean, digital channels have been, the #1 outlet for us, and social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a banner right on the homepage of our website that has an updated statement that is dated, so that customers know that we're continually updating that. A really great technique that's been, I think, really useful is an email, your email signature. Put a very quick, simply understandable statement about what you're doing, and have all of your staff put it on your email signature, because that's going out every day and people are seeing it quickly that way. The reason why we did that, we were going to send out a large email, to everybody on our email list, but we kind of felt like in the beginning, everybody was getting inundated with those letters and maybe weren't actually reading them anymore because they just felt like there's so many. So we tried to simplify it so that people got the information they needed and got it quickly. Again, we're putting up signage at every site that helps explain what we're doing and our safety measures. And then also we are sourcing all of our state agencies' information on our website as well, and sharing that information too out on social channels. And I talk about there too is like advanced purchasing, without encouraging shopping. I think that's a key point to let people know. That's kind of for that last slide, but yeah.
That is important to make sure that your customers know that you are an essential business and that you are still open. I know there's a lot of uncertainty amongst people just knowing what is an essential business.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've been using a lot of the definitions from state agencies and national agencies to help explain that to individuals. But it's important to market safety too. Like, safety is important, and that first and foremost, that's what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Absolutely, and that's a great idea to put it in your email signature. All right, Shota, tell us about what you've been doing.
So we've been doing a lot of the same as both Emma and Clinton stated. That email signature idea is a fantastic one. I'm gonna have to implement that today. But aside from that, we're really trying to encourage customers to call ahead, pay in advance, or schedule a delivery, just to minimize our contact with them and the time they spend at our facility in contact with our staff. And then we're also identified as an essential business by our state. And so when we were first dubbed that status, we made a couple of videos for our social media explaining to customers that we're still here, we're still operational, and we're trying to do the best we can to do it safely. And that if they need any of our products or services, to give us a call and we can figure out the best way to get that to them without putting anybody in harm's way. And then email receipts, and then a lot of social media communicate, social media outreach. Every other post has something to do with safely getting our material or our services to customers. So that's about it.
Thank you, Shota. All right, in our survey, we surveyed how much finished product inventory do you have? Most people had a typical amount for this time of year. Some had a backlog of compost stored up from winter, and a few folks were just ramping up from spring and didn't have inventory. And how are compost sales impacted? There are some people who had reduced wholesale and retail sales, and there were fewer people, unfortunately, who had increased wholesale sales and increased retail sales, which is fantastic. And there were some folks who had no change in sales. All right, so with COVID-19 impacting all of us and all of the impacts that we just went through, people have had to come up with new marketing methods to reach out to people who are isolating in place. So let's check in with Emma and see what she's been doing.
So I mentioned earlier that obviously we can't be going out and seeing our customers and getting on site, which is usually the biggest way that we are following up with our current customers and meeting new customers. So I've been focusing on my bid service for projects that are maybe starting, that have been deemed essential, ensuring that our website is really up to date, so customers that are shopping remotely just like we are able to easily contact us through that, focusing on SEO to make sure that we are getting that customer traffic to our website, since we can't be out looking for the customers ourselves. And I think there's a new customer and community opportunities with focusing on ensuring that our compost is going to those more local garden centers, because we're not having direct contact with the homeowner, making sure the garden centers are aware that compost is available to them in bulk, showing them how to use that, and making sure we can connect our compost to that homeowner through those local garden centers.
Fantastic. And Emma, would you please define SEO and talk about a little bit of what you're doing to increase it?
I can talk about it a little bit. I'm not the person on our sales team that specifically handles that, but I do know that SEO is working with another company to make sure that when someone types in compost near me, that your compost, if you are of course located in a reasonable distance to them, your website will show up, so that that potential customer will be hopefully clicking on you first before they shop around to all these other composters in the area. So that's a great way digitally to not have to be running around and looking for customers, and having customers come directly to you.
Exactly. It's all the little things that you do on your website to make sure that it pops up first whenever somebody Googles for it. All right, great. Thanks, Emma. All right, Clinton, tell us what new marketing methods you've been working on.
Yeah, sure. So I will reiterate, focusing on your digital channels. This is for us, this is a great opportunity and a great time to reintroduce your products to your marketplace and let them know what you do well, success stories, giving them opportunities. Like I've been sharing a lot of things about gardening tips, a lot of things about spring cleanups, the fact that it's good for the soul, because everybody is at home, like Emma said, and everybody's on, like we are, all of us, we are on our social channels, we are online. That's what we have, that's what we can do right now. I've probably increased my social presence on all platforms by about 25% in the last just 2 months alone since this started, just because there's so many people out there. So it is a great opportunity right now to get new customers through those channels. And then, yeah, sharing success stories, quality assurance, local products, best practices, those kind of things. It's really great. I love the safety and delivery. I mean, that's a good way to communicate to the customer that you can deliver, we can deliver, and we can do it safely, especially if you're sitting at home and you have kids that are anxious and want to get out, I mean, you know, that's what's great about the Victory Garden, getting out there and getting the kids involved. Again, talking about the city mulch and compost giveaways, we support a lot of those in Colorado. Denver has a very large one that we do that has been postponed. And so we've been partnering with Denver and Denver Urban Gardens, which is a garden group throughout the entire metro area that supports community gardens. And we've been working together, the three of us, to support local businesses where they can get either our compost products through a bag, or they can get other things that are needed for these projects, since they can't, say for mulch, for example, too, they can come to our site to get mulch since they can't get the free mulch just yet. So, and you know, just finding alternatives and solutions with these groups, and supporting, you know, the local businesses that are open. I think that's important.
Wonderful, thank you. Shoda, please tell us about your methods.
We've been posting a lot of videos to promote gardening during this downtime. So a weekly video, whether it's talking about a product, sales and delivery options, or like last week, we specifically created and promoted a product through a Facebook and Instagram ad campaign, our Super Mix Organic Fertilizer. Because right now here in Tucson, it's a great time to fertilize your garden as things are starting to fruit and flower. And then urging people to start their Victory Gardens to reduce dependence on grocery stores, and urging customers to support their local nurseries and hardware stores if they're just starting a garden, where they can go and get everything they need in one stop. And then also sharing community resources about community gardens and community groups like the food bank to hopefully increase our marketing reach and also support our local partners here in Tucson.
Great, thanks, Shoda. And it's really important to try to come up with as many avenues as we can to market while people are sheltering in place and some of our customer base may be shifting. With the Victory Garden idea, as all of you have said, it is really exciting for customers who are interested in reducing their dependence on grocery stores that feel less and less safe to go to. And when you want to stay home and spend time with your family, it's an activity that you can share with your family, and you can actually talk across the street to your neighbors while you're working in your Victory Garden, and you can still feel connected to folks. And Clinton, I think you had told me a little bit about how you were discovering a lot more new markets through people that were connecting with you in this time that wouldn't normally have connected. Well,
if I'm sure, I'm trying to make sure I know what we're speaking of exactly, but yeah, I mean, a lot more people have been, you know, the best way to put this would be, not many people have maybe used compost before, or haven't, you know, top dressed their lawn with compost, but now they're at home and they have an opportunity to do something with their lawn, and maybe they're willing to try something new because they're going to be there to watch it and be a part of it. So top dressing is a great example of that. Not many people maybe have done that as an alternative, and so promoting how to do it, it's easy, it's simple, we can deliver the product to you, you know, those kind of practices have been really helpful.
Thank you, Clinton. All right, did we have any questions that we haven't answered thus far?
Yes, we sure do. And it's a good one. And this is one for all the panelists. Thinking into the future, of course, none of us have crystal balls and we don't know how long this will last. But question about, with all the new practices and new efforts you've tried and the different safety measures you've put in place, which of these do you think are going to be continuing when things kind of return to some semblance of normality in terms of personal interactions and people moving around. And so which of these have you discovered that are really great ideas, and why weren't we doing these before? And of course we'll keep doing those, and which ones are like, no, those are only in place now and we'll probably drop those when we can.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
for some of us, we'll be continuing to do online or Skype visits with customers and retailers when it's possible. It's just, if you really need to speak to one person and they're 200 miles away, it's a lot more efficient just to have a Skype meeting than it is to try and create a route where you can visit 4 or 5 retailers in one day to make sure you talk to that one customer. And then the other thing I think that we'll probably be keeping sometime in the future is the over the phone or pay in advance methods. Continuing to encourage customers to do that because it's more efficient in our facilities to have the products ready and available and the orders taken for our customers. So that way they can get loaded up and on their way as quickly as possible. And I'll leave any other ones up to the other 2 panelists.
Yeah, that I agree with a lot of just moving more digitally where possible. I think a lot of customers, especially more on the retail end of things, if those customers were reluctant about switching to digital ordering, paying over the phone, this may be the push that actually got them to be confident with those transactions. And hopefully, once this is over, they will just continue doing that because they are doing it now and they'll be comfortable with it by the time things are running smoothly again. Also, like Shota mentioned, doing meetings digitally. I've offered quite a few lunch and learns that I typically do for landscape architects that I was supposed to have in person, April and May. If they would like to switch those over to a webinar-based education session like this. Of course, it is really nice to get face-to-face with people, but if you're crunched for time or that person or firm is located very far away, it may be easier to do an introductory webinar like this one, where you could go through slides with that firm and still give them their credits for sitting through a presentation about compost and soils. So I think that would be something I would definitely offer more often, even after this is all over with.
Yeah, I support exactly what both of our other speakers have said, and digital trainings for us is a new one and it went really successful. And so I'm excited to take the platform we've created and to reach out to more landscape yards and get more people educated on our products through those means. Another big thing that has been helpful with the large increase in website traffic, our get a quote feature on our website really started to show some flaws and how we needed to rework the information we were asking so that we could simplify the email communication and get all of the answers quickly in the first email instead of having to have 2 or 3 emails back and forth until we got all the information. So that's been a great positive right there. Yeah, those are two big ones. When it comes to like operations on site, being able to use the cameras to help with meetings, with interaction really quickly with the sites, that's been a big positive for us. I think keeping the loader operators in the same loader throughout the day, instead of like sharing loaders back and forth, I think that's going to be something that probably stays in place. Yeah, there's been some great positives.
And one quick follow-up, Clinton, someone asked about, you mentioned selling compost for top dressing lawns, and they're asking if you have, or USCC has resources about how to use compost for top dressing. So I don't know, Hillary, if you might be able to answer that, or Clinton maybe be able to share some of that.
Sure, let me start off with that. On our website, underneath the Use Compost tab, we have some information about top dressing underneath our Compost Consumer Use Program, which is a part of the STA Certified Compost Program. There we talk about how you can use top dressing for trees and shrubs, flowers and vegetables, and for lawns, and it gives specific amounts for each one. Also, if you go to the U.S. Composting Council's YouTube channel, you'll find some videos that we've done with Joe Lampel of Growing a Greener World that show you exactly how you would apply that. And those are videos that you can share with your customers to help them see how it's done. Clinton, did you have more to add?
Oh, Hillary, those are all great examples. On any of our products that we recommend for top dressing, we give application rates on our rack cards that show how to use it for that application. So there is information on our website, but the person that asked the question, if they want to reach out individually to me, I would be more than welcome to share some resources too.
Which is a good time for me to note that the contact information, the emails for all three of today's panelists will come in a follow-up email tomorrow. That goes to everyone.
Thank you. And the rack card that Clinton mentioned is an STA certified compost rack card that's a part of the Compost Consumer Use Program. We affectionately call it the C-Cup program. So folks that are in that could also purchase similar cards with directions for use on them.
Okay, I got another question. This is kind of a funny question, and I'll be interested to hear how folks answer it. As part of the Victory Garden outreach, are you offering training materials? I guess this probably was for us, not for the panelists. Are we offering training materials on how to compost at home?
That's a great question, and we do have an answer. After we go through the questions, I'm going to go into what next and what other resources do we have for you to take you to the next level with this idea. And our Victory Garden website has resources for how consumers can compost at home, how they can use compost in their Victory Gardens at home, along with seed resources. And it has resources for how you can market to customers more. And we're going to have a webinar on that topic for how to use our Victory Garden marketing resources in practice. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. Any more questions?
No, we've answered everyone's questions. At least any questions that people have been willing to write up and submit.
We try not to put you on the spot. All right, so here is that.
Hey, Hillary.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention another positive. I forgot to mention this back a few slides, and that was that we hired a delivery. We had to hire a delivery driver because of the increase in deliveries. So instead of having to furlough anybody or not have many people at work, we've actually hired during these times, which I think is a great positive and a great win.
That's fantastic. Glad to hear that. So the URL on the website is our Victory Garden Toolbox. You'll notice that this is the intro page. And on this page, it has the STA Certified Compost Participant List. It has a link to resources that are only available for USCC members that have resources for marketing the Victory Garden concept to your customers. And then it also has resources for the end users to figure out how to use compost in their garden if they don't already know, as well as where to find different plants and seed sources for starting their Victory Garden. And at the bottom of that page, it has resources for how to start their own compost pile. And we want to make sure to highlight one of the folks who has worked with us on this, which is the Composting Council Research and Education Foundation. Their International Compost Awareness Week is featuring Soil Loves Compost. And we want to make sure that people think about how much soil loves compost in Victory Gardens. So it would be a great help for this initiative if you asked your customers to take pictures of themselves using compost and post it with our hashtags. One of them is iCall2020, also Compost Victory Garden hashtag, and hashtag Soil Loves Compost. And I mentioned earlier that we have a follow-up webinar in the series. So we just touched on how you can market during this time of social isolation. Our follow-up webinar is going to get into more detail about how to use the Victory Garden tools that we've created in collaboration with CCREF. And you will learn simple and low-cost ways to get the message out about the benefits of using compost in your Victory Garden. And this is going to be useful whether or not you have a marketing person on staff or if you don't. And this will help you learn how to use our tools. We're going to have panelists Linda Norris-Walt, who works here at the U.S. Composting Council, and Susan Longacre. Suzanne, sorry, Suzanne. And if you want to listen to any of the recordings from our webinar series that we've had, that is going to be available on our website. You go to the Research Educate tab up at the top, then go to COVID-19 resources. You will find all the recordings from previous webinars, and this webinar will be up there as well if you would like to go through it at your leisure. And we want to thank everyone who's worked with us on this, CCREF, ISLR, and the Composting Association of Vermont. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you all for speaking with us.